We're ready for the start. They're off.
Hi again, everybody. It's Tuesday, and it means it's official. Jeff Siegel and Jeremy Plonk from Express Bet and First Bet here to put a wrap on the previous weekend, what we've seen. It's our banner and opinion show, Jeff. We'll have 5 topics to talk about this week, heavy on the Saratoga and Del Mar.
Good racing last week, don't you think? I mean, we saw some of the stars rise to the occasion, maybe a couple of superstars on the horizon. It's that time of the year when you start looking at the 2-year-olds. Excellent racing. I thought gambling-wise, it was okay. I'm not going to deny that. So that was part of it as well. And we'll carry on as we now move into August, which is always a great month for you and me because college football is getting close to it. Players are now reporting to camp, and NFL, first NFL game is in 2 days. So I like August. I really do.
Yeah, the call to the post and the pads popping. I mean, those are 2 sounds that I absolutely love, and we'll get a lot of it this month. We're going to talk about our 5 topics, starting on the big board this week with Epicenter's Dandy victory. Let's go back to the Jim Dandy Saturday at Saratoga. It was only a field of 4, but they were all together at the 8th pole.
It is early voting, the leader here. Zandon being asked for more on the outside. 3/4 went in 1, 12-1, and they're at the top of the stretch. And it is early voting, challenged here by Zandon on the outside. Tawny Port is next, and Epicenter's out in the middle of the track. And now there's an 1/8 of a mile to the finish, and Epicenter is coming on now. And Tawny Port is rallying down at the rail. Here is Epicenter, and he's the center of attention now. Epicenter comes from off the pace to win the Jim Dandy Stakes, and he did it in 1 minute, 48 and 4/5 seconds.
Jeff, not a lot of separation first to last in that field. You had 4 high-quality 3-year-olds, but I particularly love the way Epicenter finished in this race. You always say the ears up, forward, that kind of thing like that the horse is happy and they're doing things on their own. That was a picture of it. I mean, this horse came to the wire looking like, hey, let's go around again.
We had talked about this race, and I think we both liked Epicenter because we felt that this was it was more important for him to win than the others. So he had trained to be really cranked up. But I didn't really like his chances early on. I thought he'd be either on the lead because he didn't run that way, or at least stalking the pace, and he didn't break that sharp. But I got to give it up to Joel because Joel Rosario didn't panic. He kind of reevaluated the situation and said, okay, it's 4 horses. I'm not probably going to have to worry about traffic. So I'm just going to let him lope along, and I'm going to ask him to run 1/4 of a mile. And I'm going to wheel to the outside. He'll have clear sailing. He'll have all of his momentum built up by then. And then we'll see if he's a good enough colt to win it. And he was. So I give credit not only to Epicenter, but Joel Rosario as well. That's good. I mean, is he now back in the picture now? I mean, is he among those that could win an Eclipse Award? He still has to go out and win the Travers, but I mean, he's right there. The table is set for him.
For all of his greatness, he still doesn't have a grade 1 on the resume, right? I mean, these are like grade 2s that he's racking up, but these were grade 1 horses in this race. It's not much different than the field we would see for the Travers, give or take some more depth to it. But you're looking at, when you face Zandon, grade 1 Bluegrass winner, I mean, that's a major challenger there to beat the Preakness winner and to avenge the loss in the Preakness. He beat 2 grade 1 winners in this race. He's a grade 1 winner in everything except the actual stamp on his passport to see it. But I would have liked to have been a fly in Saratoga Springs on Saturday afternoon during the running of that race. And I would have liked to land on the lapel of trainer Steve Asmussen as he was dressed in his suit. I can only imagine the 4-letter explicatives that the sailor-like talk and tongue-lashing that Joel Rosario was getting the first half mile of that race. I mean, what the hell are you doing back there? And then it all worked out. He was like he had a plan. Like he was running the shot clock, like a basketball player who's dribbling down, the shot clock's going down. 5, he still doesn't make a move. Steph Curry, because he knows he's going to step back and hit the 3 at the end. That seems to be the way that he was ridden in this particular race. I don't know if things went wrong at the hop, but Epicenter has not had the early speed that he once had in his career. His last couple, he has lost something on the early fastball, but it may have made him a better horse overall.
I think so, because now the confidence that the jockey and the trainer have on this colt, especially when they go a 1.25 miles next time, is there so we can be wherever we want to be.
Right.
Just get him into his rhythm, put him where he's comfortable, I don't think that Epicenter has got a massive blast for a late kick. It took him a long time to go from the quarter pole to the wire and pass those horses. He's got more of a long, steady run. But as long as you know that, you can plan accordingly. So for him to win this race the way he did, I was impressed. I really was. Now the buyer number was triple digits. It wasn't massive or anything like that. So I think is he a great 3-year-old in the like on Arrogate? No, I don't think he's that. But I do think he's a genuine, consistent horse, a stayer who will get a mile and a quarter, and now has developed a style that they can lean on. So all props to Epicenter for winning that race. What about Zandon, though? I mean, he hadn't been out. I mean, he ran well. I mean, if he was a top, terrific, great horse, he probably would have won with the trip. But how much improvement do you think he has in him?
I think we've seen it, right? I mean, that's the race he ran in the Kentucky Derby. He ran right up to the hind quarters or got to within 3/4 of a length of Epicenter in the Derby and never pushed by, right? And they ended up third, and Epicenter was second, and then down on the rail, Rich Strike came up the fence. Zandon versus Epicenter, we've seen it twice in a row now, once at a mile and a quarter, once at a mile and an eighth. I kind of think Epicenter's just a little bit better than him and can turn him away as he pleases. But Zandon against other competition, other 3-year-olds, if it's not a head-to-head matchup with Epicenter, I think he stacks up very well. I think he's a top 5 3-year-old in this class. He might be better a little bit shorter, like a mile and an eighth, but maybe he'll be a mile and a quarter grinder. We've got to see, all these horses, when it comes to a mile and a quarter, it isn't their forte for the most part. Very few horses, it's their forte. Maybe for Zandon it will be, but I would think he'll have a hard time getting past Epicenter again come to Travers. Now that Epicenter's got a little pace versatility, even if he were to get chewed up early, by one of these up-and-coming type 3-year-olds in the early pace, he can just lay off of it now. So I think Epicenter stays ahead of Zandon. Zandon is a Grade 1 winner. The only 2-time Grade 1 winner in this class, we talked about it last week. It's a good trivia question, but it's Cyberknife, who won the Arkansas Derby and won the Haskell. And he was 18th of 20 in the Kentucky Derby, beating 42 3/4 lengths. So if you want to make Cyberknife the head of the class right now, based on the Grade 1 quotas, it's hard to look past that 42-length defeat in the Kentucky Derby. He's going to have to do it again. Mo Donegal, of course, is out, and I think he's the most talented of the 3-year-olds. He was my Derby pick, and so I kind of lean towards that estimation and the fact that he won the Belmont. But we're not going to see Mo Donegal again, likely in 2022, and maybe we won't see him race again. So where this 3-year-old class is now heading into the Travers, it's a little bit more narrowed because I think early voting took himself out of consideration. They knew they got away with one going a mile and 3/16 in the Preakness and the way things set up and catching the other horses on the 2-week turnaround, that he gave it up and ran 4th in this race at a mile and an eighth. I can't see early voting turning the tables in the Travers. I can't see him being a Breeders' Cup Classic kind of horse. So for early voting, his Derby left to me is the Pennsylvania Derby.
Yeah, and that's maybe where Taylor will show up. So that'll be a pretty good race as well. But early voting had everything his own way. He made the lead. I thought maybe he would get pressure from Epicenter. That didn't materialize. 24-1, 40-1, 12-1, cruising in front, no pressure. And not only did he not win, he actually dropped back and finished 4th behind Pawnee Port. So now, and I wasn't sure that he was trained to the max for this race, but you still should have run. You still should have run better, and it had to be a major disappointment for his connections to go from top of the mountain, winning the Preakness, to running last, and now all of a sudden it's like, what have you done for me lately? And the answer is not much. Maybe they backed off too much on him. I don't know, but still plenty to prove in this division as we head towards the final 2 major races. Obviously, the Travers, and then we'll see a very good edition of the Penn Derby as well, and then we'll figure out who the champion is. And even that might not be decided until after the Breeders' Cup. Maybe one of these 3-year-olds can pop up and win a classic. We'll see.
Well, the 3-year-old champ, please stand up. Let's go to our second topic on the big board this week. Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. Jeff, we are talking about Jackie's Warrior here. Jackie's Warrior just cruised in the Vanderbilt Stakes, and where he's at now in the sprint ranks, he was last year's champion sprinter, but he imploded a bit in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Is he better than last year? Is he on par with last year? What's your take on Jackie's Warrior?
He's certainly as good. And again, I'm not sure if he's beating the world's greatest sprinters, but he's doing it the way you want him to do it, and that is easily. And sometimes you pop the gate, you get loose on the lead, or you sit second on the outside and you're kind of breezing. It's an easy trip. He had to, he was inside. He kind of dropped back a little bit, came around the horse. I thought it was a very good win against the horses that he's supposed to beat, but he did it the right way.
Let's see him win at 25 cents on the dollar back last week in the Vanderbilt.
Jackie's Warrior, the champ on the outside. Doc Amster down at the rail. They've got a length and a half on Willie Boy. Running next and third. At the back, New York Traffic, followed by Knee Deep in Snow. The half mile in 45 seconds. And they come into the stretch. And confidently ridden here by Joel Rosario. It is Jackie's Warrior who has the lead with an eighth of a mile to the finish. Jackie's Warrior in front by 4 lengths. Knee Deep in Snow has moved into second. And Jackie's Warrior remains undefeated here at Saratoga, and he wins an unprecedented Grade 1 stakes at the Spa for the 3rd straight season. Jackie's Warrior, a true thoroughbred champion.
Jeff, that's what I like to call Cadillacing to the wire. I mean, Joel Rosario just kind of sitting back, hand on the wheel. That's as easy as you can do it. We talked about the style with which Epicenter won the Jim Dandy. This was dominant style and just a basic canter over the last 16th of a mile. Jackie's Warrior, awfully good. John Embrial mentioning the historic feat of winning a Grade 1 at Saratoga 3 years in a row. That's one of those stats when you hear it, you say, really? Nobody's ever done that before. Nobody's won 3 Grade 1s at Saratoga 3 years in a row. Now, look, Grade 1 stakes, they don't hand out like candy. There's a lot of graded stakes. We didn't have graded stakes until the early to mid-'70s in horse racing period. So in the hundreds of years of the Spa, we're only talking the last, 150 years of the Spa. We're only talking the last 50 where graded stakes apply. But 3 Grade 1s in a career in 3 successive years, very impressive in name. But when you go back and you look at the races that Jackie's Warrior has won, the Hopeful is a 2-year-old, the Jerkins last year is a 3-year-old sprinting, and the Vanderbilt this year. Jeff, I went through all the names, and I found one legitimate Grade 1 horse. That was Life is Good, the horse he beat last year in the Jerkins. The rest of the list, I'm going to bore you with it, but here are the details because it's such a historic accomplishment that I want to try to put the proper context to it. In the Hopeful, he beat Reinvestment Risk, Mutasabek, Ampersand, Papatoo, Nutsy, and Fearless Fly. He beat a total of 6 horses in that race. In the Jerkins, he beat 5 runners. Life is Good. Absolutely legitimate, career-defining victory for Jackie's Warrior. Then also behind him was Following Sea, Drain the Clock, New Bomb, and a horse named Judge and Jury. Just 5 in that one. And here in the Vanderbilt, just 5 behind him. Knee Deep in Snow, Willie Boy, New York Traffic, Doc Amster, and Long Range Toddy. I mean, you could argue Drain the Clock on his best is kind of a lower graded kind of stakes horse, but not a Grade 1 hammerhead. He has beaten one really good horse, but he did it last year, and he beat Life is Good when a lot of people thought he couldn't beat Life is Good. So just how good is this accomplishment for Jackie's Warrior?
Well, I'll take it if I'm him. You can, with 2-year-olds, you never know what you're going to get or who you're going to beat.
Right.
So you don't know there. And this field, I mean, they're all kind of scattered now with all these stakes races, and the purses are such where if you can't win, you might as well not even bother to try, go somewhere where you can win. But I think the win against Life is Good was, as you mentioned, career defining. So I don't really think he has to apologize to anybody. And I'm not really sure when he goes to stud that it's going to matter that much that he won 3 Grade 1s at Saratoga. It's a nice stat and all that, right. But bottom line is you're going to breed a Jackie's Warrior if you like him as an individual, if you like his pedigree, if you certainly like his race record, and if you want a fast, precocious horse, he's your guy. But he's still got 2 more races to go, Jeremy. The 4 Go and then the Breeders' Cup Sprint, a race he did not run well in last year as the favorite. Can you imagine what his record would look like if he had won that race?
Yeah.
But he was down on the inside that day. He was running in the quicksand, and he probably should have run better than he did. But I think that the things were against him last year that prevented a good race. Maybe he wouldn't have run well no matter what. But he's certainly good now, and he's got a plan. He's got a schedule. It'll be, and I think the way he's been trained and the way he's run, I'm thinking he's probably gonna complete the sweep. I really do.
Yeah. You mentioned 4 Go, the race coming up. That was one of the horses when John Embrial said the stat, first horse to win 3 Grade 1s at Saratoga. I'm thinking, Forgo ran forever. Obviously, what did he rack up? Amazingly, Forgo ran 57 times in his career, Jeff. He only made 2 starts at Saratoga. That seems like almost impossible. He won an allowance race there in 1973, and he ran up the track in the 77 Whitney. Forgo never won a stakes race at Saratoga. I mean, like, sometimes you got to go back and look this stuff up to believe it. And of course, there's the Sultan of Saratoga, the great 4-star Dave. He didn't win a lot of grade ones. He was on the turf, but he won a race at Saratoga for 8 straight years, from 1987 to 1994. So when you think of the longevity greats on the NYRA circuit, Forgo, 4-star Dave jump out at you, but they didn't come close to what Jackie's Warrior just did. So I guess, tip of the cap to Jackie. I mean, this is actually a pretty big accomplishment.
I think so. And he carried 127 in the race, and he's carried weight, legitimate weight. He's beaten top legitimate horses, and I would like to see him win the Breeders' Cup Sprint, just because I think he deserves that. And to go out and do that would be a great accomplishment for it. A fantastic old school sprinter. All the money's usually in the middle distance races, but I got to give credit to Steve. He's let this colt do what he wants to do, and that's just all he's been able to do.
Steve's had great handicap division horses. He's had great distaff division horses, but he's becoming an absolute Iron Man with these sprinters. Mazzoli in recent years, and Steve sprinters have absolutely become fantastic. Let's keep the sprint division in the focus as we go to topic 3 this week. You had this theory last week on American Theorem. You said he's a sprinter. Let's see what he can do sprinting from now on. Let's go back to last weekend when he ran in the Bing Crosby.
Top of the lane, and Shaw's now in deep water at the rail. Shaw's been overtaken. It's American Theorem, the grey, in full flight for the wire. I do believe the rider just dropped his stick, but it's not making any difference. American Theorem striding home strongly. Get Her Number is now chasing from second. American Theorem and Joe Bravo have won the Bing Crosby.
I'll give you the tip of the cap, partner. You were on this. You thought this horse was going to be a good sprinter. You liked him this past weekend. And American Theorem, the son of American Pharaoh, certainly delivered for you on the promise.
Well, he trained really well, and I was happy we were able to show that workout, because that's how a good horse is supposed to work. You don't have to work in 58, look good and be ready. You can do it in 101 if you do it the right way. And that's what American Theorem had done in the previous week, which is why I really felt he was ready to run as well as he's capable of doing. He was 4-1 in the morning line. I figured, okay, 472, 3-1, something like that would be fine. Ended up paying $17.60 because insane money came on Shaz. I'm not sure where it came from. And also, I don't want to dismiss the fact that the track that day was very much pro-wide, rally wide, anti-inside, as it was at the Breeders' Cup the previous year. And on the first week, it was fine. Inside was fine. It looks like it's starting to rear back to its old days. And I could see that on the week during the day. And so when American Theorem was outside, and I figured he'd be out on the first part anyway, I figured, okay, everything is coming together now for this 5-year-old son of American Pharaoh. And he won very authoritatively. He's got now winning your in horse, so he gets a free pass to the Breeders' Cup. He will run, will probably one more time, and that's Pat O'Brien at Del Mar, going 7/8 next month, and then he'll probably train up, which we know he can do that because he did it for this race, to the Breeders' Cup. So good, congratulations to George Papadromo. This colt had a fractured shin and was off for a long time. He gave him the time he needed, and I guess the trainer and the connections became wise over time. They figured, well, let's go look at his races. Maybe he's a better sprinter. So this is what he is, and he's a good horse. I don't know whether he's Jackie's Warrior, but he's good enough out here to win and win again, and then we'll see how high he can fly.
He would serve a better chance at a Breeders' Cup Sprint at 7 furlongs than at 6 against some of the real speedballs in the game, like a Jackie's Warrior. He's 3 for 4 sprinting now. He's by American Pharaoh, so at some point you wanted to give this horse a shot to the Triple Crown Trail, right? They sent him to Oaklawn at 3, and things didn't work out. And like you said, the shin problem. But we've seen some good horses turn back in Southern California in recent years to win some of the good sprint races. Mackenzie did it, City of Light. These are horses who are really good, handicap division, middle distance kind of horses that were able to cut back and win some of the sprints on the West Coast. Now we'll just see if he's got the kind of turn of foot that just pick him up and lay him down in the Breeders' Breeders' Cup Sprint on the road this year when they have to head to Keeneland. So American Theorem, he's where he's supposed to be now. We'll just see how good he can be, but he'll get a head-to-head shot against Jackie's Warrior, hopefully, when we get to the Breeders' Cup in November. To our fourth topic on the board, we bragged him up in our handicapping show last week, but the return of 2-year-old champion Corniche, it sounded good on paper. It didn't look very good on video, though. Let's go back to the Amsterdam on Sunday at Saratoga, where Corniche was ready to check out of the hotel.
It is Pinehurst on the inside and Gunite on the outside, and the two of them are right together midway around the far turn. Here comes Accretive as Corniche drops back in the field. Accretive has taken third, running son of a gun on the extreme outside. And down at the rail is Hoist the Gold. They come off the turn and enter the stretch, the half, 44 3/5 seconds. It is Gunite. Accretive is all out in second with 1/8 of a mile to the finish. Gunite and Accretive and running son of a gun next in third, followed by Papa Cap in fourth. Here is Accretive right alongside of Gunite. Gunite is a tough customer here as they come on for the finish. Gunite won it by a head. Accretive was second.
That ass must have had a pretty good weekend, winning the Jim Dandy, winning the Vanderbilt, and then winning the Amsterdam there with a gutty effort from Gunite. We'll talk more about the winner in just a second, Jeff, but let's talk Corniche here. The 2-year-old champ came back. You saw right there, mid-turn, 2.5 furlongs out. He was done and throwing in the towel. Your postscript on his return effort.
Funny about this is when he got beat in this race, the first thing that came to my mind was he's either got hurt in the race or they're going to say he got hurt in the race because he's got too much of a reputation to protect. He's an undefeated, or he was undefeated champion 2-year-old, and a colt that was syndicated or sold for stud rights for a tremendous amount of money. I can't remember what it was, but it was. I'm tempted to say it was like $15 or $18 million. I'm not sure. Bottom line is you got a quality road colt, undefeated in 3 starts, Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner, Eclipse Award winning champion 2-year-old. You don't want to tarnish that piece of paper. Right. So he comes back here, and we'd watched his works, and we put his works on last week, and neither one of us was.
It was no can do. It was hands off after watching him work.
Exactly, and I was wondering why they were going to run him, and if it's me and I want to protect my investment, I might say, might be better off. You can't beat perfection, so you might be better off if we just didn't run him,
Yeah.
And then he goes out and he runs this race, which was terrible. And nobody said anything after the race. And then 2 days later, we come up with a story about how he ripped his frog or shred his frog in the right front, which is sounds painful to me. It's a legitimate excuse. If it's real, I'm going to take Todd Pletcher at his word and say that it actually, did happen. But it's a convenient excuse to try to protect the reputation of Corniche. And I don't see any reason. I mean, you can, if you really think he can bounce back and win again, fine. But man, you don't want to get this horse beat again because now all of a sudden what happened last year is like yesterday's or last year's news. And that investment in that stud fees and that stud investment kind of dissipates before your eyes. So I'm really not sure where they're at with Corniche. The other problem we have to deal with is how good really is he anyway? I mean, his form last year, it looks good on paper, but who did he beat? He didn't beat anybody.
Well, I've got the numbers for you because that's what I do. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year has been Struggle City at 3. Yeah. The alumni are combined now 5 for 36, Jeff. And here are the 5 victories. A maiden special weight at Monmouth. An Indianapolis allowance. A Hawthorne allowance. The Saudi Derby, the big win for Pinehurst, and a listed Japanese stakes by the Japanese horse who ran in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile who went back overseas. He lost 5 in a row or 4 in a row before winning a listed stakes last time out to get on the beam. So 5 for 36 for last year's Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Take out the horses who won overseas. You got 3 wins in the U.S. this year by alumni in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, a Hawthorne and Indianapolis allowance, and a maiden special at Monmouth by Command Performance. This will go down as perhaps the worst Breeders' Cup Juvenile of all time based on what the others have done and their collective lack of success. Look, there are great Breeders' Cup juveniles like 2 years ago, an Essential Quality, a champion at 2, who came back at 3 and was right up at the top of his division again. But you only need to look back a year prior to that to find a Storm the Court, who's really like an allowance horse and has never developed into anything else.
That's my nominated right there.
Yeah, he's more Storm the Court than Essential Quality, no question about it, when it comes to Corniche. But like you said, you had mentioned the frog, that's a hoof injury, the fleshy part of the hoof for fans who, aren't as familiar with horse racing. So not a physical injury to bone or anything life-threatening, anything like that. So it's it's an easy fix to send the horse to the stud game. If indeed that's we are led to believe exactly that's what happened. Let's go to the 5th and final topic this week on It's Official, the Stars of Tomorrow. We've been doing this all summer. And Jeff, some weeks we kind of like look around the country and there's some debates on who we might think. There were 2 absolute positive standouts this year. I'm going to start off at Saratoga with a horse named Prank. Prank at Saratoga was absolutely dominant in her 2-year-old debut. She's a filly and a half-sister to Uncle Mo, or to Mo Donegal.
It is Prank and High Class, and the front 2 have opened up 5 lengths on the rest of the field. O'Shaughnessy is down at the rail running in 3rd. It is Prank who has the lead with 1/8 of a mile to the finish, and Prank has given the rest of the field the slip here. Prank is putting in a very impressive performance in her debut. Look at this. Prank winning by a dozen lengths or so. And she ran the 5.5 furlongs in 1 minute 3 4/5 seconds. This filly may have a future.
I'd say that future could be in the stakes ranks next at Saratoga. She'll be back at the end of the meet.
Yeah, this is a good filly, and she's supposed to be a good filly. Into Mischief from the dam of already a Belmont winner. And when you win a 2-year-old filly wins like this, going 5.5, the first thing you say is, great, terrific. How far does she want to run? I don't think that's going to be a problem here. And the way she did it, it was kind of funny about it because we had her work from the gate prior to this race on XPTV. And if you bothered to look at it, you probably had a good laugh because and it's still up there if you want to check it out, but she had a team drill, and she broke in front and opened up like 1.5 lengths in the first 50 yards, and the jock took a hold of her and guzzled her back. Yeah. The other filly who was working went by her by 1.5 lengths. Then the jock kind of loosened the reins a little bit. She shot up inside and opened up 4. I'm thinking, if they let this filly run, she's going to work down there in 57 or something.
Yeah.
Well, that's what she could have done. Of course, didn't fool anybody. I mean, she went off at 55 cents on the dollar. Yeah. And they broke from the gate, and the first call was, and they're off. And Prank goes to the lead. I'm saying, race over. It's over. It's over. Maybe she gets beat if she gets left, but if she's in front, they're gonna have a 16th of a mile. She's gonna win, and she wins the race by 10. She runs a low 90s buyer number. She's pulled up to a walk in the last 50 or so. Todd Pletcher's got her. I mean, this is the best filly I've seen this year, and I see no reason, unless she gets hurt, why she won't finish out the season with whatever races they want to run in, spin away, whatever they want to do with her. Obviously, the Breeders' Cup Juvenile fillies at Keeneland. To me, she's extraordinary, and maybe definitely a superstar in the making.
And the fact that she's a half sister to Mo Donegal, a Belmont winner, there's probably not going to be an urgency to run her 2 turns before the Breeders' Cup. I think they're just going to make the assumption she'll be fine around 2 turns. So she could do something like the spin away and then just lay off and train up the Breeders' Cup. You could do the Frisette at Belmont, and go the 1-turn mile there, mile 16th around 1 turn. But there's no reason that you have to run to Keeneland for the Breeders' Futurity with a filly like this and see if she can go 2 turns. I think the assumption will be there. The impressive thing is when you hear she's a half to Mo Donegal, you assume, okay, he was kind of a plotter at 2 and a long distance, long-winded horse. He didn't debut until September 30th at Belmont, where he got beat 5 lengths going 6.5 furlongs. She's fast enough to dominate going 5.5 at Saratoga 2 months sooner on the calendar. She's more brilliant than Mo Donegal for sure. That stamps a really big and impressive future for her, Jeff. But she wasn't the only horse in the 2-year-old filly ranks who threw their hat in the ring for a future stardom. We had one at Del Mar as well. Her name was Justine. Let's go back to the weekend and take a look at her as she's just starting to get in gear as we put the video up.
Justine is running on nicely. Justine coming on from behind. Top of the lane now, and Home Cooking just the leader. Home Cooking in front now, taken on here by Kissed by Fire. Down the center of the track, here's Justine. And Justine is coming fast. Kissed by Fire. Home Cooking at the rail. But Justine very, very confidently handled by Victor Espinosa. He just let her stride home. Justine wins it impressively.
Now, Justine, trained by John Shirreffs, coming from off the pace in the career debut with a filly. Obviously, everybody thinks the Z word, right? She's right over my shoulder, over this shoulder here. Zenyatta in the apple blossom, the photo that you see here on the show. She's not Zenyatta yet, but man, it's kind of fun.
Well, I tell you what, Zenyatta didn't debut for well under a 3-year-old season, and this filly's doing it too, and she's by Justify, who's gotten off to a fantastic start in his stud career, even though he himself didn't run until he was 3. But Justine, we had watched her work. We had works on her on XBTV, and I looked at her, and I thought she was going to be a fantastic filly. I mean, before she ever ran. But I didn't like her in this race because I didn't think she was cranked up. John Shirreffs has zero reputation as winning as a trainer who wins with first timers.
Right.
And predictably enough, she walked out of the gate. So she's already eliminated at the start, especially in a race in which Bob Baffert had a rocket ship that was supposed to win in Home Cooking. And then a filly that at 15-1 I liked a lot because I'd watched her train on video as well. Thought she had a chance to win, and that was Kissed by Fire. And turning in the stretch, and I gave them out as the best play exactly those two. They're 1 and 2, and no one's close. And then all of a sudden, look at them here. I thought, oh no, she's running. And here comes Justine, just blows them by, blow-bys them like they're standing still. Yes, this is a not so much because of the win. I know that the cynics will say she didn't earn a great number. Her number was in the low 70s. But she didn't even try, and she spotted the field 10 lengths, and she only ran 50 yards. And if that is not going to be the best race she ever ran in her life, let's get that out of the way. But again, the pedigree, she's a Justify out of a mare who's already produced a Hollywood Derby winner. So to me, you've got two fillies here that will meet. Now, right now, I've got to give Prank the edge because she's more straightforward. She's got more tactical speed and all that. It doesn't mean that Justine's not going to win a Grade 1 sometime this year. I'm pretty sure that she'll be in the mix for one of those. But two fillies on the same weekend, different coasts, and we saw potential superstars in both situations.
And if we turn back the clock to Zenyatta, because I'm going to run this analogy into the ground so everybody yells at me for saying, you think she's the next Zenyatta? No, I don't think she's the next Zenyatta. But for context, Zenyatta was 5.5 to 1 in her debut. She was not expected to win either. She got an 87 buyer in November of her 3-year-old year, November 22nd. You were right in saying it was late into her 3-year-old year. So she only buyered in the 87. She didn't get past 94 until her 4th start. So she wasn't brilliantly fast on the numbers early in her career either. Yes, she was faster than Justine, but Justine's a 2-year-old filly. Zenyatta was almost 4 when she debuted. So quite a bit difference in those two. And hey, we can dream, right? There's only one Zenyatta, 19 for 20 lifetime. She should have been 20 for 20 if that damn blame wouldn't have got up in the last stride. But she's not going to be Zenyatta. She doesn't have to be Zenyatta, but she could be a really nice filly for John Shirreffs. And hey, let's see if we can't get a little East-West rivalry going, right? I mean, I'd love to see it if Prank and Justine's careers can kind of mirror each other. They go from this debut the same weekend to one prep to the Breeders' Cup, and then get that East-West matchup at Keeneland on a neutral field at a mile to 16th. That's what we want. That's what we want to see in a 2-year-old filly championship. So the stars are aligning in our Stars of Tomorrow segment. We'll have more 2-year-olds and potential 3-year-old first-time starters as we continue throughout the summer here on It's Official. Jeff, it's time now for our final topic. It's not part of the schedule, our bonus topic each week, and we go a little lighthearted with these, but it was for a good cause this past weekend. At Saratoga, after the races the other day, the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund had its annual karaoke competition. Jockeys, trainers, people on the back stretch, their spouses, all singing for a good cause to raise money for disabled riders. But Jeff, hold your ears on this one. It was not something that I think that is going to light up American Idol anytime soon. That's Joe Talamo and company doing their Backstreet Boys. Joe, rocking the white tank top pretty well. They did not get the victory, though. Surprisingly not. The Backstreet Boys, led by Joe Bravo, did not get the victory. That went to trainer Joe Sharp and his wife, the retired jockey Rosie Napravnik. They did their reprieve of Tim McGraw and Faith Hill, and we get to listen in thanks to the PDJF's Twitter feed. Tim and Faith, I'm not so sure, but they got the trophy. They were victorious. Joe Sharp, Rosie Napravnik, congrats to them for the PDJF Jockey Fund. Certainly, if you can, in your position in life, make donations to organizations like that. I had the pleasure of emceeing the Jockeys and Jeans event at Philadelphia Parks a couple years ago, and got to hang out with a lot of the veteran old riders as we raised money for charity there. In fact, that's where I bought the Zenyatta picture autographed by Mike Smith as part of the auction there. That went to the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund and the Jockeys and Jeans. If you can donate, be sure to check the official websites and do everything on the up and up and see where you might be able to help out with some of those riders. Jeff, karaoke, you ever done it?
No. Well, actually, that's not. I've never done karaoke, but when I was like 20, I was in a rock band,
No, get out of here. Tell me.
Oh, yeah.
We've got time. It's the internet. We've got time.
No, I don't think video and movies were invented. Cameras were back. That was actually, it was late 60s, and we did some college stuff. Yeah. I found out that it was not really my calling. I mean, I enjoyed it. I just wasn't really good at it. That was my problem.
Were you like the guy with the cowbell? Were you the tambourine?
No. I was guitar. I'm going to tell you a story. I've told this before. I'll say it. It's a true story. It sounds whack, but it's true. Okay. So I was in this band, and my great talent really was the ability to acquire really good equipment. I mean, I could get the best guitars and amps and everything. So I got invited to go to a jam session, at which time, now remember this is in the late 60s, I was introduced to somebody who claimed, didn't see his ID, he claimed he was Jimi Hendrix's cousin. So,
right.
So anyway, I said, I was a little skeptical. So he starts playing this guitar, his riffs. I said, "You're not Jimi Hendrix's cousin. I think you're Jimi Hendrix." He wasn't.
He was that good.
He really was his cousin. And at that stage, I said to myself, you are so far out of my league. I'm going to stay around. You can play around with the equipment. Then I'm going to take my equipment home. I'm never coming back. You guys are like way better than I am. And I think that's the last time I actually picked up a guitar. So back when I was 18, I did have a sights set on some kind of career there. Realized my shortcomings, went home, picked up the form, and the rest is.
You traded in a Stradivarius for a form. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. And I know I did have some good friends in the business, so I'll just leave it at that. But so karaoke, no, and maybe that's a good thing.
You should have named the horse Jimi Hendrix's cousin. That would have been a good name for him.
I'll tell you what, I've got a filly. I might as well say it. I mean, what the heck? She's a 2-year-old filly by Candy Ride, and I think she's pretty good. Were you like an MTV guy in your day?
Yeah, I remember the very first episode of MTV. Okay. Cable TV was a big deal when I was like 11.
Okay, so this filly is by Candy Ride, and the second, and she's out of a Tisnow mare. Tisnow was produced by a man named C Songs. I got the song. Mm-hmm. I got Ride. Second dam was Storming Atlantic by Storming Atlantic. So I put it all in the hopper. And they came up with a name for this filly. REO Speedwagon's Riding the Storm Out.
There you go.
And so she breezed yesterday. 3/8 looks like for John Sadler. I get to see her and Flyline every day if I want to go down to Delamar. And I think she's pretty good. I really
Just Riding the Storm Out, one of those where it's all smushed together?
Yes, it has to be. I got the apostrophe in. But anyway, she'll run around Labor Day, and she's by Candy Ride, and I really think that she's pretty good. So while I say I may not have been in karaoke, I still have it in my blood, and now it's in my Phillies blood. At least the name is. That was a great song by REO Speedwagon back in the late 70s, early 80s, title track of their platinum album, and got a lot of play, the live version, as you remember, on MTV. So, music was my passion. Unfortunately, not really my skill, but I'm still hanging in there.
Well, this segment turned out way better than I originally planned because I made a really bad Photoshop of the two of us doing karaoke that I'm not even going to use. I'm not even going to drop it in here now because it would ruin the story of your brilliant meeting with Jimi Hendrix's cousin and how it pushed you to horse racing.
I don't even know his name. That's his name, Jimi Hendrix's cousin. That's all I know.
On that note, we're going to wrap up this edition of It's Official. We hope you enjoyed our banter and our 5-pointed topics where Epicenter won the Jim Dandy and maybe now is the head of the 3-year-old division. We know the head of the sprint division. It's Jackie's Warrior, and he was nimble and quick in an easy victory in the Vanderbilt. Theory on Theorem was right. Jeff said the sprint ranks are what American Theorem should be doing, and he delivered at a nice 6-1 mutual in the Bing Crosby. The champ got flattened, kind of like Muhammad Ali standing over Sonny Liston on the mat. It was Corniche coming back in the Amsterdam on Sunday and just outrun completely as he faded through the pack. And our stars of tomorrow, one on each coast. We've got an East-West 2-year-old filly rivalry shaping up in the juvenile fillies ranks. Prank on the East Coast for Todd Pletcher, Justine on the West Coast for trainer John Shuroffs. That's going to wrap up our 5 topics, which are now official because that guy who gave up hard rock for the hard racing said so. Jeff, we're going to do it all again next week. Have a good one.
It's going to be fun next week throughout the month, as we say. Good racing, good gambling. So get on with it.
We'll see you on Friday as we look ahead to the weekend with the First Call podcast. Jeff and I will look at 8 stakes races on Friday. Until then, good luck at the races, everybody.